Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Golden 20s. My name is Tegan, and I'm joined with my co-host, Sadie.
Hello.
And we are going to be talking about the phenomenon known as quiet quitting, which has blown up on the TikTok. I don't know why I called it the TikTok, but that's where it's blowing up. And just setting boundaries in general, because for those who don't know what quiet quitting is, it's the idea of kind of doing like the bare minimum at work to get by. You're not staying late. You're not stressing yourself out to reach deadlines. You're simply doing the work you're paid to do, no more. So if your job's 9 to 5, you only work 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also the decision that you are more than your job or your productivity, and accepting that you are just working to get paid, to pay your bills, and that's it.
Yeah.
But it's become quite the topic, I feel like.
Yeah. And I feel like a few weeks ago we had a work episode, about like how to get promoted, like advice you need to know to like advance your career. But it's like that's only sustainable for so long. You know what I mean? And I think I don't love the word quiet quitting, but I feel like it's just like to avoid burnout. You know what I mean? Like this is kind of what you have to do sometimes. And like for me, I feel like my career is just constant like ebbs and flows when it comes to hustle, and then it's like, no, I can't hustle anymore, I'm burnt out. You know what I mean? So I think the concept of quiet quitting, even though it makes it sound like you're quitting your job, in my mind, like it literally says quitting. So I guess it's maybe not just in my mind, but like I feel like this is like a mentality you can adapt when you just need a breather at work, you know?
Well, I think it's supposed to be an alternative if you come home from work one day in tears and you're like, I can't do it anymore, I'm quitting.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be the alternative. You're not quitting, you're going to quiet quit.
Yeah.
And then basically you're just going to show up and you're going to try not to care.
Mm-hmm.
Do the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Do what's in your job description, nothing that's outside of it.
Yeah.
And leave your work at work.
Yeah, definitely. Which is a lot harder than it sounds.
Yeah,
but
all of this is.
But we're going to talk about some ways to, cultivate that energy because it is necessary from time to time.
Yeah. Well, and really, like, this is how people should treat their jobs. Like, there are examples of, there's a deadline. You're trying to get a new client, and so you have to stay late to work because the pitch is tomorrow.
Yeah.
The problem is if that's the expectation every single night, if everything's an emergency.
Yeah.
That's where the issue comes in. So, like, there have been some critiques of quiet quitting saying, well, that's just working. It's like, well, not really anymore. And especially, I feel like people who are new to the workplace, like a lot of people in their 20s and a lot of women, like we talked about in previous episodes, they want to do a good job. There's a lot of extra pressure. It's harder. And you don't even realize that these boundaries are being pushed. I feel like
if you're just starting out, you don't know,
how do you know
any different, right?
Yeah. Like in high school, I worked a minimum wage, like fast food job. And then it's like, you work for the hours you get paid. So if you work more, you get paid more. If you work less, but my first like real adult job, I was still getting paid minimum wage, except it was like salarized. So I didn't realize because I was like, oh my God, that's so much money. And it was like 50 plus hours a week. We did not get breaks, like not even lunch. You could not get time off. You never had the right to refuse work. And I just thought like, okay, this is what being an adult is. Because like,
welcome to adulthood.
Yeah, I was like, this is the life. I'm killing it.
Meanwhile, that's literally, all of those things are laws. Like here in Ontario.
Yeah. And so it's like you don't realize until someone's like, hey, you can just do what's in your contract.
Yeah.
So I'm here to tell you, listeners.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like I've always worked at my first job. I was definitely not getting paid enough, to even like sustain like a living like wage, I want to say. But like that's a whole other thing. But I feel like for me in my career, it's just so easy to get sucked into the grind, you know? And it's like I'm somebody who I need to work for what, like, I need to work because I don't have a plan B. You know, like I don't have I'm not sitting on savings where it's like, well, I can just quit and like I'll just figure it out. It's like, no, this is the plan and the only plan. So like I have no choice but to work and like advance my career so I can like, you know, maybe one day afford a house, which I don't think is a goal for me, but like, you know, like I can afford to travel. I can afford to do the things that are important to me outside of work, but I have to work, you know? So it's easy though to get sucked into it, to be like, well, if I want to do this, then I need to make this much money, which means I need to hustle for this promotion. Then I get that promotion. It's like, okay, well now I need to get this promotion. Now I need to move companies. Now I need to do this. So for me, I feel like once I had the realization of how that's what I'm doing and how that is not sustainable, I feel like it's kind of the same idea of quiet quitting, but I would just say the word coasting, you know, where it's like, there's going to be seasons in your career where you need to hustle, or you don't need to. You'll want to hustle. You're feeling very motivated at work. You know, like this is the time to advance your career. Like I'm going to jump on this opportunity. But there's also seasons where like you can't operate at that all the time and you need to just chill and do the bare minimum. So for me, I always just view it as like coasting, and I often choose when I coast based on, okay, I just got promoted. Not saying I'm going to like slack off and be like, well, got it. Now I'm going to do nothing. But it's like, now I'm just going to enjoy where I'm at. Rather than always jumping and diving for the next thing. And I feel like what's important and kind of goes into this whole idea of quiet quitting is just remembering that you choose when those seasons are for you. You know, don't let your employer be like, no, you need to work really hard, blah, 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 because again, it's not sustainable. So it's like, if you're feeling motivated and like energized and ambitious at work, go after it, you know? But if you're feeling like, no, this is my time to just like take the paycheck and focus on other areas of my life, whatever, that is okay too.
Yeah, I feel like it's very like personal and depending on where you're at. So it also isn't dependent on how hard your coworkers are working, because I feel like that's sometimes a cycle I get sucked into. Is like, I'm always the first person to leave the office. And it's like, but I'm staying half an hour late and I'm still the first person to leave. And it's like, hey, you're only supposed to be working 9 to 5. Like leave at 5. Who cares? If you're showing up at 8:59, that's fine. Cares? That's all you need to do. But it's so easy to almost be like competitive. Be like, I want to be the best employee that I can be here. But sometimes it's like, no, you also, there's so much more to you than I stay an hour after work every day. Like when you think about it like that, like that's so lame. So like, that's not cool.
It's not a personality trait. You know what I mean? Like, 100%.
It's like, I used to work with people. Well, I worked with a woman who was against like Apple Watches and everything. And I was like, okay, interesting. Why? And she's like, because everyone I work with, all they talk about is how little sleep they get. And they say like, oh, my watch says I only got 5 hours. And then someone else will be like, oh, mine only said I got 4.5. And she's like, it's this weird productivity competition between how badly they're treating their bodies. And I have 100% worked with people who are like, man, I was here till midnight and then I was back at 8, but that's life. That's the grind. And it's like, I don't want
this. This is the wrong flex.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like too, the pandemic kind of like threw things for a loop, because I feel we were kind of moving away from hustle culture a little, and we still kind of are like, and I think that's why quiet quitting is such like a phenomenon, like you said, because everyone's like, hustle culture is toxic, you know? But I feel like kind of companies are still, if you're like a corporate girly or guy listening, like companies are still very like hustle culture, you know? So like
there's a disconnect.
There definitely is. So it is easy to get sucked into, like you said, like the environment side of it. And I don't know. One of the things, I feel like we're going to now talk about like how to quiet quit, like some actions you can do if you're feeling like, you know what? This is what I need right now. Like I need to take not a step back, but like I need to just chill and just coast and like just do my job, take the paycheck. The first thing is setting boundaries. And I know, again, that sounds so easy and it's really hard to do. But one of the biggest things for me is not internalizing the company's problems as my
Mhm.
own personal problems. And that's so hard to do. But I think that's kind of what we were just talking about by the company being like, well, no, like we need to get this client, like we
Yeah.
need to do this, we need to
Yeah.
do that, and like hustle, hustle, hustle. But it's like, I feed into this all the time. It's like, realistically, like
Yeah.
this is important for the company or whatever, but
Mhm.
like for me, my sleep is more important.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, disconnecting, spending time with my family is more important. Like,
Mhm.
don't internalize those problems as your personal problems. And I think that will help you also once you decide, like, no, like this
Yeah.
isn't my problem. This is a
Yeah.
company problem. And you can distinguish that and like set that boundary mentally. It'll help you be able to enjoy your life outside of work. You know, you're
Mhm.
not guilty for not working and when everyone else is or
Yeah.
whatever. Like you're just kind of aligning on your values and like not letting your company's problems like overshine your
Yeah.
personal life. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. Well, and it's not like an actual problem in your life.
Exactly.
Unless it's like, okay, my work is bad and it's a problem. That's a separate thing.
Yeah.
But if it's like, this isn't going well at work,
Yeah.
leave it at work.
Yeah. Like this report is wrong. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, well, I'll fix it, but like
Yeah.
it's not the end of the
I'll fix it
world.
tomorrow.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can fix it tomorrow. Like,
yeah. Well,
yeah.
like I was going to say this for 99% of jobs, like none of this matters. Like there's 1%, like, yeah, if you're a brain surgeon,
Yeah.
don't quiet quit, please.
Yeah.
Just like, you know, if you're a firefighter, yeah, you're probably going to have to lose some sleep.
Yeah,
And there's an
yeah, yeah.
understanding there. But like, I work in social media.
Yeah.
Nothing
if a
is
post
an
doesn't go
emergency.
live,
Yeah, like, can we relax, please? What's the
Yeah.
worst thing that can happen?
Exactly.
So,
Your
and
company's going to lose stock and then, you know,
Yeah.
it's all like so corporate and
yeah,
stupid, you
Yeah.
know?
that's
Yeah.
every once in a while, it's good. And like, even I'll say it at work, like, we're not curing cancer here.
Yeah.
I am moving an image of the number 7 in Canva.
Yeah.
Like a monkey could do this.
Oh my
it's
gosh.
fine.
Yeah. That's it. Even things at work, like
Yeah.
at my last job, we would always say, is this going to impact business?
Yeah.
And make decisions that way because you
Yeah.
could, like, there's so many, especially on the creative side, like,
Yeah.
so many opinions where
Yeah.
it's like, if we move this number 7 or not, like,
Yeah.
is this actually going to impact like the results and impact the
Mhm.
business?
Yeah.
No. So why are we spending so much time and
Yeah.
effort talking about it? You know, like,
Yeah.
it's so dumb, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, and so I think the key part of quiet quitting is setting boundaries. And when
Yeah.
you're doing that, it's important. I think like the most important step is making sure the people you work with know your boundaries
Mm.
because it's not your fault if their fault if every other person at the company works till 8 and you used to decided you're quiet quitting and then you're mad because they're messaging you at 6:30.
Right.
Like, I think
Yeah.
it's important to be clear with, I'm going on my lunch break, or okay,
Yeah.
I'm done for the day, or I'm going on vacation. You cannot reach me.
Yeah. And I think it's important, like, to know you set those boundaries for
Yes.
yourself. Like,
Yeah.
you set that expectation. You
Yeah.
set that precedent for yourself, you
Mhm.
know? Because as soon as you let someone else do it, they're going to push the envelope as far as they can.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Especially in a corporate setting.
Yeah. Well, and if they don't know, like if they don't know you're on your lunch break
Mm-hmm.
and they message you,
Yeah.
like you can't get mad because they're messaging you when they think you're working, right?
Yeah.
And so the next thing I wanted to say was like to actually take your breaks. So
Yeah.
like don't eat your lunch at your desk, move away, turn off your notifications, move your body, actually use your, paid time off. Take advantage of
Mhm.
everything you can.
Yeah. At my work, my lunches aren't paid.
Oh,
So I don't
interesting.
work 40 hours a week. I work,
yeah,
I don't know, however many.
35. Yeah.
Yeah, 35. I'm like 40 minus 1 minus
Yeah.
times 5. That's the math.
Yeah.
But so if you expect me to sit in a
Yeah.
meeting like from 12 to 1 when I am going to take my lunch, like you're out of your mind.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Or if you're doing a meeting over lunch and then you expect me to do another meeting right after, it's like, no, like I'm
Yeah.
not paid for lunch. Like why
Mhm.
would you expect that? You know, but it's easy in the day-to-day again to overlook it. Like
Yeah.
even I think this is more like a provincial law thing, but like depending how many hours you work, like it's law to get a lunch break. It's law
Yeah.
to get 2 15-minute breaks if you're
Yeah.
working an 8-hour day.
Yeah.
So again, if you're working from home or like you're working a corporate job where like these breaks aren't scheduled in for you,
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to just overlook them. But it's like,
Yeah.
no, like it's a law
Take the
for a
break.
reason, you
Yeah.
know, like because people can't operate at 110%
Yeah.
for 8 hours straight. Like you
Mhm.
need the break. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think moving your body is a great idea to take
Mhm.
those breaks, like just holds you accountable. Like
Yeah.
I think that's
Get
a
out
great.
of your chair.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
thing's always like running errands on my lunch because
Yeah.
like I have to
Yeah.
leave the house. I have to step away from my computer to do it. So
Yeah.
that always holds me accountable.
Especially working from home. It's it's
Exactly.
almost worse because it's like, well, all I'd be doing is sitting on the couch, so I might as well help them out. It's
Yeah.
like, nope,
Nope.
don't do it.
Don't do it.
The other thing is don't answer work emails outside of work hours.
Yeah.
Because this is another thing that's so easy. It's like, how long does it take to respond to an email? 30 seconds? Okay, I'll just whip it. No, don't do it.
Because then you're communicating to your
That it's
colleagues,
okay. Yeah.
and your boss that it's okay. You're checking, you're
Yeah.
on it, and then that just becomes the normal for
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
know?
So turn off your notifications if it's a problem, or like sign out of your work accounts
Yeah.
when you're on your phone, when you're away from your desk. And when you're on vacation, set an out of office message and actually follow through.
Yeah. Definitely. I don't know if this is good or bad, but like I never check my emails outside of work hours, never mind respond. Like I
Yeah.
don't check, I don't
Mhm.
do anything. I have my email on my phone, but it's like for emergencies, like if I can't get into it my
Yeah.
laptop one day, like I can still contact people, but I don't have notifications on. I don't
Mhm.
have I never check it.
Yeah.
And like I'm somebody who really like values my work, and
Yeah.
like I am very ambitious, but people are like, what do you mean you don't check emails outside
Yeah.
of work? Or my one friend will like send me messages being like, oh, did you see this? And I'm like, no, I'll see it tomorrow morning when I log
Yeah.
in at 9 a.m.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know? But I don't know. Same with like Slack. I think that's a big one. At my last job, we had like a team Slack channel, and I guess he was like the highest manager on our team was like, yeah, like everybody should get Slack on their phone so we can like communicate. And I was like, I will not be doing that.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's just like for like if
Mhm.
anybody needs anything, blah blah blah. And I was like, no, like
Yeah.
our relationship is a work relationship.
Yeah.
And like I don't want to be thinking of you guys, talking about
Yeah.
you guys outside of work. Obviously I
Yeah.
didn't say that in that way, but it was like, no, this is my
Yeah.
boundary. But again, it was me setting it for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not you saying okay and then being mad when the notifications
Exactly.
pop up on your phone.
Yeah. Same with my out of office, actually.
Yeah.
Like, I never check my emails when I'm
Mhm.
off.
Me too.
And my out of office, too. Like, I don't put for anything urgent, here's my cell phone number.
Oh,
For
yeah.
anything urgent, like, I'm just like, listen, this is my
Yeah,
out of office.
yeah.
Hey, bitches, listen
Yeah.
up. I'm gone. This is the day I return.
Yeah.
I'll get back to you the day I return because nothing is that urgent
Yeah.
where they're going to have to interrupt your
Yeah, no.
vacation. Like, no way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I think the next kind of like tip as far as how to quiet quit is to actually schedule out your day and then only work in those scheduled blocks. So this is like if you find yourself starting early or staying late because you have 100 emails and you're like, well, I only want to answer emails during the day, but it's piling up. It's taking me away from my work. So it's like schedule blocks of time to deal with your emails. And then everything outside of that needs to be tackled another day. So like the first half an hour of my day is just for emails.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't take me half an hour, I'm like, okay, great. This is my chance. I get up and I make a tea. But that's my email dedicated time.
Yeah.
And that's it. And it's the same, like schedule your lunch breaks, put it in your calendar.
Yeah.
If you need
Block
to.
off your calendar.
Yeah. Even like I'm grabbing a coffee at this time, so I cannot have a meeting, and share your schedules with your coworkers so they are aware and not booking you in meetings when you plan to do any of these breaks.
Yeah. I think having like a consistent schedule and like turning it into a routine has been what helps me. So it is like that daily routine of like checking my email from 9 to 9:30. You know, it's the daily routine that every Thursday I'm going to go for a walk at lunch and stop at Starbucks. You know, like for me, it helps because it's not like, it just makes me feel less chaotic because I'm like, I know I routinely do it at this time and it'll get taken care of, you know? So I don't know. We know I love a good routine. We know I love a good plan. So just wanted to slip that in there.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to say is if you find it's like the same thing I was saying with the email, you're like getting all these pings and buzzes and it's distracting you and you feel like you're not getting any work done, like schedule notification breaks.
Yeah.
Like I know we use G Suite at my work and you can schedule in your calendar focus time. And people can't book you in meetings. Like it says they're doing focus time and you can specify. So I'm a video editor. I'm doing focus time editing this video. It pauses your notifications and it makes it so that if you're on a tight deadline, you're not constantly being distracted by like flashing lights and dinging. And, you know, like I said, we're not curing cancer. They don't need to have my response in 30 seconds. If they get it 2 hours later, that's fine.
And that's another boundary. Like I'm also guilty for that of like, as soon as somebody says, hey, can you send this to me? I drop what I'm doing and I send it right away. But it's like, not everything needs that, you know? So I think that's something to be mindful of.
Especially if you're like, I like my work. I'm trying to do a good job and I'm getting burnt out because
all these
I'm being
small
pulled
tasks
in different directions.
Yeah. I know. I am a huge user of do not disturb mode on my phone. Also just like silencing my personal notifications when it's, you know, focus time at work.
Yeah.
That's been helpful. We use Microsoft Teams, which is cringe and I hate it, but we have do not disturb mode on there. So it's the same thing where it silences your notifications and it shows other people that you're in do not disturb mode. So that's kind of our focus time, but I've just recently started using that and it is a game changer for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next thing I wanted to bring up is to just be aware of your responsibilities and your deadlines. So like I was saying with my first job where I didn't know, I just said yes to everything because I just thought that's what you did at a job.
And when you're new and like
you want to be the yes person.
Exactly. You want people to like you and this is how they'll like you if you say yes to everything. And
where so now it's like know what is in your job description, know what's in your role. And if you're feeling burnt out, if something is if a request is coming in that's not in your job description, say no.
Yeah. For me, it's like roles and responsibilities and process. Like that's how my brain works at work. So it helps me again say no to things guilt-free because I am somebody that does do things outside my job to help other people out or like, oh, if I do it, it'll be so much quicker. So, you know, here you go. But it's like, know your own roles and responsibilities, but also like communicate it like with your cross-functional team members and your colleagues. So everybody's on the same page and nobody's holding you accountable to things that you're holding them accountable to. You know what I mean? Like you all need to be on the same page. Same when it comes to process. And I think a part of the process is also like baking in timelines, you know, and like communicating like turnaround time and like just everybody being aligned from the get-go can really help make it more efficient. But then also, again, you're not bottling things up inside because you're like, I'm doing so many things.
I said
that aren't my responsibility. And like, I'm getting burnt out. It's like, just openly discuss that, you know?
Yeah. Well, the one thing when I decided like, no, I don't want to stay late. I'm going to work in my work hours. None of this is that important. Is whenever someone would come to me, like I said, I'm a video editor, so it would be a project manager who would say, hey, we need this video edited by tomorrow. And then I would say, okay, so that means I'm not going to have time to work on this project. Can you put that in writing? And I will send that to that project's project manager. And every single time they'd say, oh, no, it's okay. I can wait.
Exactly.
Because it's like none of it's actually that important. People just think their job is important because, you know, it's what you do. But So just be clear. Whereas if I said yeah and then was bitter about it, like that's on me
Yeah,
for agreeing to it and then staying late when I didn't need to.
exactly. A huge thing at my work, people just say, hey, can you do this? They don't ask you by
Yeah.
when. They
Yeah.
don't give you context, nothing. And it drives me nuts. So
Yeah.
I feel like every time I ask somebody for something, I'm like, can you send me this by this day? And it's like reasonable turnaround
Yeah.
times. But if they're not communicating turnaround times, don't just assume like, oh, I need to do it
it now.
ASAP. Like
Yeah.
ask them. And then,
Mhm.
like you said, if that causes a shift in your priorities, communicate that. Be
Yeah.
more so to your boss, I feel, or like whoever would care about your priorities. Like if
Yeah.
it's, a colleague where you're like, well, to do that, I need to stop doing this for somebody else. They'll be like,
Mhm.
okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like to somebody else, like your boss, to be like, okay, well, I only have so many fucks to give.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not what I say to my boss, but
Yeah.
me mentally, like,
Yeah.
where do you want me to prioritize my time? And like, let's like think about this because everything's a priority to different people. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So
Exactly.
yeah.
And also just be aware of what is coming your way and scheduling your time properly. Like sometimes I find myself, if it's the middle of August and there are all these projects piling up in September, it's like, well, September is so far away. Like, no, prioritize, figure out how you're going to get it done and,
Work
verbalize
backs.
it to your team. Yeah, I love a good work back.
Right?
I'm very into like scheduling people's times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
I'm
is
very
me
passionate
in
about
like
it.
the process part of
Yeah.
the like roles and responsibilities. I'm like, okay, let's just bake those
Yeah.
like timelines in, you know?
Yeah. But then it makes it so that it's not like, oh, I forgot this was happening and now I have to work till 8 p.m. this entire week because I didn't know. Like, just always
Right.
keep or schedule in, time. I have the last half an hour of every day because I have to fill in timesheets and I fill in my timesheet and I look at what's coming down the pipeline. And sometimes I will fill in my timesheet early for the week that's coming up because I'm like, okay, I know I'm going to be working on this, that, and the next thing. And there they are. They're in my timesheet. Like, unless something major happens, I can't shift that.
Yeah. You tell them, girl.
Yeah.
We love this.
I love my scheduling.
Yeah, I love that too. I think the last piece of quiet quitting we want to talk about was also actually using your vacation days
Yeah.
and personal days. I don't know if that's a thing everywhere, but like your sick days, I guess is another way to say it. Like use your time off.
Yeah.
You guys know that we are huge advocates for self-care
Yeah.
and like taking care of yourself so you can take care of others. And I think that mindset also goes towards the work that you're doing and the work that you're producing. Like if you're running on low battery all the time, you're not putting your best foot forward and like producing your best work. So you need to take that time off to rest, recharge in order to show up and actually be productive at work.
Yeah, 100%. And when you're off, turn off your notifications, take your email off your phone. Like, I'm the kind of person who it's like, yeah, whatever, that seems too hard. It's fine. And then I get my first email and I'm like, no, like, I don't need to be seeing that.
Nope, not at all. Because it's so easy. Just read one email, then, well, I might as well respond. Oh, well, now
here's
I'm here.
another
Oh,
one.
here's another. Yeah, they keep rolling in. Yeah. Another thing on the whole idea of personal days and sick days, I'm going to knock on wood, who doesn't like get sick that often. And like when I am sick, now that I'm working from home, like it's just like whatever, but use those days. And if you don't get sick or like I forget how many in Ontario, I want to say it's like 7 sick days or something for the year. That's quite a few, you know what I mean? So it's like take one a month and just use them as mental health days. Like I think the idea of mental health days, employers kind of roll their eyes at, but for you personally, like when you need a break. Yeah. So use your days, like not your vacation days, but your sick days to like take that break. You know what I mean? Like your employer doesn't need to know why you're taking the day off. Yeah. Just take it off. And like I said, last September, I used a personal day for a mental health day and I got my hair cut. I got a facial. Like that was what I needed to like disconnect from work. And that 3-day weekend or whenever I took that day off made all the difference, So use those days. Don't just sit on them.
Yeah.
I feel even vacation days.
Yeah, I
Like,
work with people who don't use all their vacation
yeah,
days. I'm
and
like,
that's another flex
crazy. Yeah.
in the
yeah.
workplace. Oh man, I haven't used any of my vacation days. Oh man, I'm rolling
Yeah.
over 3-4 weeks of vacation next year. It's like, this is the wrong flex.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
No. Yeah. At least my work, you aren't allowed to roll over days.
Okay.
And they're like, use up your days now.
Yeah.
So that's good at least. But I can't even imagine. I'm the opposite, where I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, what am I going to do? I have no more days
Yeah,
left.
exactly.
Yeah. Just completely different
Yeah.
vibe.
Yeah. This is just making me like think of all the stupid things people flex about.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing, like maybe this is depressing, but like it doesn't matter. Like the job that I was laid off of, I was staying late and, going above
Yes.
and beyond, doing so much extra stuff. Like I can't even talk about it or it'll make me angry. The stupid stuff that I was doing outside of my job description that I can't even talk about it.
And I think where you're going
is that I got laid off.
Yeah.
Because, and they weren't like dicks about it or anything, but
Yeah.
it's like we need to save money and you're a number on a piece of paper
Yes.
and you don't fit into the equation.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter. Well, I didn't use all my sick days.
Yeah.
Like they care.
Yeah.
And well, I carried all this stuff up the stairs one day. Okay. That just makes you a sucker. Like it doesn't, in the grand scheme of things,
Yeah.
you're, a number on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And by you working for free, that doesn't reflect in the number. You're still,
Yeah.
getting paid. So take advantage of all.
Exactly. Yeah, I know. It's so fucked up that like companies expect so much of you, but when it,
it's never
times-
reciprocated. Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
Never. No matter how you look at it, no matter how you slice and dice
Yeah.
it, like no. So yeah. I
Yeah.
guess
Take care of yourself. You're the number one priority.
I was just gonna say, I
Have
guess the
loyalty
moral
to
here,
yourself.
yeah, is you need to take care of yourself 100%,
Yeah.
especially in your 20s.
Yeah.
Like going back to like me always chasing the next thing. Like
Mhm.
I remember before the pandemic, I think the pandemic was kind of a blessing for me in my career
Wake-up
because I
call.
was just so focused on,
Yeah.
my daily routine to and from the office,
Mhm.
went out for drinks after, whatever. But I was so like obsessed with my career
Mhm.
and lost sight of everything else
Yeah.
outside of it, where the pandemic like woke me up to that. But I remember thinking in 2019, like, I need to start talking to a therapist because if I don't, like, I'm
Yeah.
already so tightly wound
Yeah.
about my career at 23 years old
Yeah.
that if I continue down this path for the
Mhm.
next 40 years of my career, like,
yeah.
I'm gonna have a heart attack. I'm gonna, like have health repercussions from this. And that was just all the internal pressure I put on myself
Yeah.
of building my career in my 20s.
Yeah.
So I think the sooner you can have these like realizations, and it is hard because it is prime time to build your career and like,
Mhm.
network and build your reputation in your industry. So you do want to work hard,
Yeah.
but you'd also need to be setting yourself up for success and
Yeah.
make sure it's something that's sustainable because
Mhm.
this is just the beginning.
Yes, exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
so take care of yourself and like give yourself grace, I guess. It's okay to just view your job as a job sometimes.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. So, yeah, quiet quitting, just another buzz term for setting boundaries.
Yeah.
We talk about it a lot, but it's so important. Make sure that you're not being taken advantage of.
Yeah. And if you're working in a toxic workplace, this is the
Yeah.
other thing I wanted to say. Quiet quitting is not a permanent solution. I don't think it's a permanent
Mhm.
solution to anything.
No.
Like, I think quiet quitting is a mentality you take on when you need the break. And
Yeah.
if you're working in a toxic workplace, like, quiet quit so you can invest your energy in like applying for other
Yes,
jobs.
exactly.
And I know again that's still very like corporate-y, like, well, why am I investing my energy and time into like my job period? If it's
Right.
looking for
Yeah,
a new
yeah,
one,
yeah.
whatever. But like you need to pay the bill somehow,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think if you're in a toxic workplace, again, just quiet quit so you can find something else. It's
Yeah.
not like do the bare minimum and stay there forever. Like get out of that toxic workplace.
Yes,
You know, like
100%.
eventually you'll actually have to quit.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, like, yeah, hands off approach.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyways, you guys, thank you so much for listening. We drop a new episode every Tuesday, so we will chat next week. But you can also find us on social media at Our Golden 20s on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest. Lots of fall content on the Pinterest, so the Pinterest, the TikTok. So check out the Pinterest. We also have Spotify playlists, so check those out. And lastly, we are on Patreon, which is the best way to support the podcast. So go check it out. You get access to episodes early as well as some fun exclusive content that you won't see on our social channels. So it is a good time. And that's everything. So thanks again for listening. We will see you next Tuesday.
Bye.